Hello guys and welcome to episode 1 of Cartoon Asylum. I'm your host, Classic Chris. Today we are going to be talking about Bleach. Bleach is one of my favorite animes. It's got a lot to offer. It's got a mixture of comedy and action, plus the storyline I find very enjoyable. So if you like that type of stuff, I think you might like Bleach, so give it a shot. Before we get started, I'm going to warn everybody that this video does contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen episode 1 of season 1 of Bleach, because I'm going to go through these by episode, so we're only going to do episode 1 today. So if you haven't seen that episode, I suggest you watch it before watching this video, because like I said, it does contain spoilers. So before we get started, I'm going to tell you about the main characters of each episode, so as they get introduced into the show. I'm going to start off with just introducing you to the first two main characters in episode 1. In fact, they're basically like the two main characters of the show, because it basically revolves around the main character right here, Ichigo Kurosaki. Ichigo is a 15-year-old high school student. For as long as Ichigo can remember, he's had the ability to see spirits. This ability allows Ichigo to see things such as the recently departed, like spirits like that. Plus, he also has the ability to see soul reapers, and that is our other main character, Rukia Kuchiki. She is a soul reaper sent from the Soul Society to watch over Karakuta Town, which is the town that Ichigo is from. So that's a little background information. So now you know about the characters. So now I'm going to get started with the show. In the opening scene, we see a dark world with several shadowy figures moving around, being dropped on the land of the living. We see Rukia Kuchiki standing on top of a telephone pole. She senses strong spiritual energy close by. She leaps off the pole to investigate. Now we go to our next scene, and we get introduced to Ichigo. Ichigo gets into a fight with a group of skateboarders after they knock down a flower vase placed on the grave of a young girl. After he scares off the skateboarders, Ichigo tells the spirit that he'll bring her by some new flowers tomorrow. On his way home, Ichigo introduces himself and explains to the viewers about his ability to see spirits. As soon as Ichigo gets home, his father welcomes him with a kick to the face. His father tells him that he's late again and that dinner is served at 7 o'clock. Ichigo argues, is that any way to treat his son after he risked his life helping a spirit find peace? As the two continue to argue, Ichigo's sisters are at the table eating dinner. Karin, one of Ichigo's sisters, notices Ichigo has a new spirit hanging around. Yuzu admits that she wishes she could see ghosts. She can sense her presence sometimes. Karin, on the other hand, can see them, but chooses not to believe. She says she's in permanent denial. After the fight, Ichigo decides to go to his room instead of having dinner. The following morning, Ichigo notices a news report of an accident that occurred close to where they live. While delivering flowers to the spirit, Ichigo hears a scream and rushes to check it out, to find the spirit is being chased by a large monster known as the Hollow. This one looked kind of like a giant mantis. Ichigo and the spirit start running. The spirit trips just as it looks like the monster is going to devour them. Rukia Kuchiki arrives and quickly vanquishes the Hollow before she herself disappears. Later on that night, Ichigo is in his room reflecting on everything that happened that day. He finds himself wondering, who's that woman? Suddenly, a black butterfly and the woman from this afternoon appear in Ichigo's room. Ichigo attempts to speak to her, but she doesn't seem to notice. Ichigo continues to speak until, out of frustration, Ichigo kicks Rukia in the back and says, "Who are you, and what do you want?" After the initial shock of Ichigo being able to see and touch her, she begins to introduce herself as a Soul Reaper. Meanwhile, once again, we see the little girl's spirit is being chased by a Hollow. After listening to Rukia about Soul Reapers in the Soul Society, Ichigo doesn't believe her because he's never seen one before, telling her to run off and play her Soul Reaper game elsewhere, and calls her a little brat. Rukia takes much offense in being called a brat. She puts Ichigo under a Soul Reaper spell known as Aikido to bind him. To prove that what she says is true, she performs a Kanso on the spirit in Ichigo's room, sending him to the Soul Society. Rukia, by using some drawings she made, explains to Ichigo about the difference between souls. Holes are the good ones, then the ones that Ichigo normally sees, and hollows, the evil ones, the ones that basically chased him today. Once seeing these drawings, Ichigo asks her, how come they suck so bad? Which I agree, they work pretty crappy. Rukia, she's pretty angry that he said that. She draws a mustache on Ichigo's face and carries on about the two main jobs of a Soul Reaper. The first is to lead holes to the Soul Society through Kanso, like she just did, and the second one is to exorcise holes wherever they find them. Now we cut back to the girl getting chased by the Hollow, and just when you think the Hollow's about to attack her, he stops short because he smells an especially tasty soul nearby. He also smells the scent of a Soul Reaper. The Hollow leaves the girl to pursue the souls. Now back to Rukia in Ichigo's room. She's explaining that there's a second hollow on the prowling nearby, and she cannot detect its location. And usually she has no trouble locating a hollow that's close by. It seems her senses are being jammed. Ichigo asks her, "What, are you deaf? There's something huge howling out there. That sound has to be a hollow." Rukia is puzzled because she cannot hear it. Then all of a sudden, she hears a loud roar. Knowing that's a hollow, she rushes to the door. She is in shock that she couldn't sense something with such strong spiritual pressure. The hollow has reached Ichigo's home and proceeds to attack his sisters. Yuzu collapses at Ichigo's door, telling him to save Karin before falling unconscious. After hearing Karin scream, Rukia storms after her while Ichigo tries to break free of the Kido. Rukia tells Ichigo to stay out of it. Somehow, Ichigo gets to his feet after he sees Karin in danger. Rukia continues to warn Ichigo about the dangers of trying to break the Kido. Suddenly, Ichigo breaks free of the spell to the shock of Rukia and begins to fight the hollow to no avail. Rukia jumps in to save Karin by slicing the hollow's arm, and after finding out the attacks on the spirit and his sisters is Ichigo's fault, Ichigo tells the hollow, "Coward! Quit attacking others. If it's my soul you want, come and get it." The hollow goes to attack Ichigo. Rukia jumps in front of him and takes the brunt of the attack. Rukia injures the hollow. However, by saving Ichigo, she's too injured to carry on the fight. With no way to fight, she tells Ichigo that if he wants to save his family, he must become a Soul Reaper himself by impaling himself with Rukia's Zanpakuto. To save his family, there is only one choice he can make. Ichigo tells Rukia to give him her sword. She tells him her name is not Soul Reaper, but Rukia Kuchiki. So Ichigo replies by introducing himself. So now they know each other's names. He impales himself with Rukia's Zanpakuto and absorbs powers from Rukia. While battling the hollow, Rukia is shocked how Ichigo almost took all of her power when she only intended to give him half of it. How his spiritual energy jammed her senses. How he broke free of the Kido because he's just a human. And how she's never seen a Soul Reaper wield such a Zanpakuto. With a feel of wrath on my blade, Ichigo defeats the hollow, and episode 1 ends. Okay guys, that was episode 1 of Bleach. I enjoyed the episode personally. It was the first episode of Bleach I've ever seen. Like I mentioned before in the show, Bleach is one of my favorite animes, so anytime I can watch it, I'm definitely going to do it. Episode 1 was a good way to start things off. You got introduced to the main characters, Ichigo Kurosaki and Rukia Kuchiki. You got to basically know how the characters are going to react with each other. You got to meet Ichigo's family and how much he cares about his family. You got to see that in the episode. You got to see him at home with his dad. His dad, to me, is friggin' hilarious. His dad's one of my favorite characters on the show. But yeah, in my opinion, it was a great episode. It was a good way to start off the series. It makes me intrigued for episode 2, which will be another episode coming up. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. My final score for that show, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, just because it was the first episode. And first episodes, they get a lot more leeway compared to other episodes, because the first episode is supposed to set the standard, just so you know what you're getting involved with or what you're getting into. And I like this because it didn't really explain everything, so there's a lot more that you're going to learn. Plus, like throughout the show, there's going to be more characters introduced, and that's where all the fun's going to come in, where you get to see how they interact with each other, different powers and abilities and stuff like that. So, yeah, I like the episode, and again, Bleach, one of my favorite animes, and 7 out of 10. Great first episode. Can't wait to watch episode 2. And when I do that, episode 2 is going to be coming up very shortly. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for that. And thank you for watching the first episode of Cartoon Asylum. I'm Classic Chris, and I am signing off.